it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that I love Fate Grand Order, but I think everyone can agree that there are countless things the game can do better. From implementing more animation updates, which we still haven't gotten in God knows how long, to improving the gacha rates, which they're probably not gonna do, but who knows, to maybe even adding auto battles, which I mean, I don't really care for much, but I know a lot of people really want that to be added in. Point is, we can sit here for hours and hours and hours talking about different things that we think should be implemented to the game, sharing different ideas of mechanics or features that could improve the game as a whole. Feel free to comment those ideas down in the comment section below. In this video though, I want to talk about some of the things that I think FGO can learn from Samurai Remnant. In other words, I want to talk about features in Fate Samurai Remnant that I think if they were implemented into Fate Grand Order, it would just make the game a whole lot better. When it comes to Fate in general, and I think everyone could agree with this, there is a lot of information, a lot of jargon, a lot of terms, a lot of characters, plot points, themes to keep track of. I mean, not even Fate in general, just the Gnostiverse as a whole is so complex, or it could be complex if you're not being attentive and making an effort to remember all these different things. And of course, after 8 years of storytelling, 8 years of different characters coming in, coming out, dying, new concepts being introduced into the Gnostiverse as a whole, there's a lot to keep track of in Fate Grand Order. And what I really appreciate about Samurai Remnant that for some reason Grand Order does not do is the fact that it has a whole logbook that has most, if not all, the necessary information that a player needs to understand the game's story, and at the very least, help refresh a player's memory. Let's say I'm playing FGO and I want to refresh my memory on, let's say, Kurstaria Wodime, for example. And I want to relearn his backstory, his character, his motivations, his plans, his capabilities. Either I have to Google him or reread the cutscenes that have him in it, which in my opinion is a bit inconvenient because the cutscenes could be extremely long and I would have to sift through a whole lot of different cutscenes, a whole lot of different chapters in order to get what I'm looking for. That and the information that is available online might not be completely accurate, they might be mistranslated, who knows. And don't get me wrong, I like that the community, that the fans essentially compile and translate all this information for everyone else to be able to access online. I think that's pretty cool that we have the Wikia page, that we got Reddit, that there's different threads online, videos even. But maybe this is just me, it's just weird that it's up to the fans, it's up to the community to make Fate feel more accessible, and that it's up to us to essentially piece everything together, especially given how old Fate is and how successful Grand Order is. I mean, I guess I should not be surprised. Literally, the original visual novel has not been officially translated. Extra CCC has not been officially translated. There's countless other Fates that are probably never going to see the light of day as far as official English translations or global translations go. And this is such a simple thing. Just have a glossary or a logbook, like Samurai Remnant puts it, that has all the character descriptions, maybe even plot summaries, chapter summaries, singularity summaries, like a couple of paragraphs for each of these different things. I mean, again, it's such a small thing, but even for me, as someone who's played the game for 8 years now, who's read all the chapters, most of the events, it would just be nice if Fate Grand Order gave us something built into the game, something that I could read and refresh my memory, because after 8 years, some things, come and go. Some information I'm not able to retain after 8 years. And this game is a big story, much bigger than Samurai Remnant. Speaking of the story, Samurai Remnant has these things called digressions, these side missions, which are more or less similar to interludes in Fate Grand Order in the sense that they're optional side quests or side missions that you can do that give you an extra bit of content for the corresponding characters or servants. And while I do enjoy interludes, and I'm always excited when they implement new interludes for me to read, especially if it's a character that I'm very interested in, I think it would be really cool if we got something similar to digressions where we get to play as other masters, particularly of course the cryptors. Maybe during the events of their Lostbelt we get to see their perspective before, their altercation with us, or maybe how they first got into Lostbelt and how they interacted with their corresponding Lostbelt king and the populace, as well as just fleshing out their relationships with their servants, which for the most part is pretty developed in just the main story. I just think more content with those characters, especially the ones that are no longer with us, would be sick. I mean, yes, there's been times where we do get to control certain cryptors like Kadok and Trom, or you basically. But I mean, I talked about Wodime earlier. Imagine playing as him and experiencing firsthand his experience against Zeus when he first met him. We get a unique battle where we play as him against Zeus or the Dioscuri, and we get to see how he formed a contract with them, and just overall getting more content, more cutscenes with these characters. And I like how Samurai Remnant is able to do this with certain masters and certain servants, and it's just a shame because I see a lot of potential, a lot of opportunities for cool mini stories, unique fights in Fate Grand Order in particular because of how stacked the roster is compared to Samurai Remnant. Now, if we're going to talk about unique fights and refreshing our memories, a lot of us, especially me really, have been asking for this for years at this point. But it would be so fun to be able to access old quests, particularly old boss fights, purely out of the hell of it. I'm not even asking for new rewards or anything. For example, I'd love to rematch, let's say, Goetio or Tiamat or the Lion King, or even someone more recent like Carnunos, purely just to play around, purely for fun. Maybe test out different team comps, maybe Mimi teams, experiment with new strategies, especially when new servants come out. I want to see how these new servants would have worked against these older bosses. The fact that we could only get these boss fights through memorial quests during anniversary or something, or by completely starting out a new account, it's a shame because a lot of these fights are nostalgic, a lot of these fights are unique and fun, and I think adding them permanently as something that could be replayed unlimited amount of times would just add a lot of replay value for the game. And guess what? Samurai Remnant does exactly this. We get battle recollections, which when I first saw it, I was like, wow, it'd be great if Fate Grand Order would do this. And they even give additional rewards, which again, I don't really mind if we don't get additional rewards. You know, it is what it is, but it's just really cool that Samurai Remnant basically gives us this option. And I'd like to see that in Grand Order so badly. But maybe we could take this even a step further. We can think bigger picture here. In Samurai Remnant, there's a New Game Plus. And while I don't see FGO implementing a New Game Plus with like branching different endings and storylines, which honestly, that would be pretty dope too, but I just don't see them doing that. I do think it would be pretty sick though if they would make it so we'll be able to replay all of the main story quests from Fuyuki all the way to the Lostbelt, all the way to where we're at right now, complete with new rewards such as more quartz, ascension items, and even grails. Why not? But make it where every quest is super difficult, maybe scaled all the way to the like Lostbelt difficulty. Like imagine refighting Gwen, who was like a bitch at the time to fight back in Camelot, but now there's additional gimmicks like maybe HP breaks, more buffs, more debuffs on the team. Because I know other gacha games do it, like Manga Record for example, where you complete a chapter and then you could move on to the next chapter if you wanted to, or you could go back and replay said chapter, but now it's a lot harder, the HP is a lot higher, the enemies hit a lot harder, maybe there's additional enemies into the mix, of course all with additional rewards. I know this idea may be a bit too far-fetched and that might require like a big ass update or something. Like the Hopium is really strong with this one, but having a replayable story, albeit a little bit more difficult with additional rewards, I think veteran players would appreciate that a lot because it gives everyone something to sink their teeth into, especially when there's no events or nothing to farm, especially again if you're a veteran player and you really don't have anything or anyone to train. It would be nostalgic, it would be challenging, it would be, I think, overall fun. But alas, these are just ideas I got throughout my playthrough of Samurai Remnant that I think would make FGO a better game. Like the video if you agree with my points, dislike it if you just think my ideas are absolute dog shit. And again, comment down below your own ideas that you can see improving Fate Grand Order. And of course, subscribe to become a supporting character to be the main character, because without you guys, I'd be the only character, and that would be kind of lonely. It would suck a little bit, to be honest. So, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.